Coming up on Mountain News this morning, several bills are voted on by lawmakers in the state capitol, and Congressman Hal Rogers now takes on a new title while making state history.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning to you. It's already 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. I feel like we just started the newscast. I feel like I just woke up, honestly. I'm Dakota Makris. Good morning, and let's take a look at our rainy forecast in some areas with Brandon Robinson. Brandon, good morning to you. During one of the breaks or something, I walked out to my car to get you some Zyrtec because you're under the weather this morning. So I felt a little sprinkles, but not too bad.
Yes, it's a little bit sprinkly out there, and it's just allergies. It's not anything crazy.
Just allergies. Yeah, sorry, I meant
it's all up here.
Should have prefaced that. Yeah,
the rest of this is okay. It's up here at the congestion part, but it's that time of the year. Of course, pollen drifting out there this morning. We're going to keep an eye on that. It actually hit so sudden yesterday. I was like, really? This is coming on that quick? Anyway, let's talk about the weather. We're looking at the rain coming down across parts of the region this morning. I'm taking a little closer down into some of the areas. We're looking at some heavier bands there back toward the Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee borders. La Follette, you're seeing some pretty good rain right now up toward Jacksboro, over toward Harrogate there in Claiborne County, Middlesboro down toward Pineville, over in parts of Harlan County, Lee County, Virginia near Pennington Gap, and over toward St. Paul and St. Charles. We're also looking up toward Manchester, seeing some pretty good rain south of London there toward the Corbin area, down toward Williamsburg, and over toward Barberville as well this morning. Sensors, I think we had a lot go back to sleep on us, so that's okay. 62 Prestonsburg and Pikeville, 60 in Harlan this morning, 59 Jackson and Somerset, and it looks like the warmest spot in the region is 62 Prestonsburg, Pikeville, and Irvin a time. 75s are forecast high today. Average high is 61, record high 80. Set back on this day in 2007. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is still raging on, the death toll climbing, and millions of Ukrainians are fleeing. A Kremlin official is refusing to rule out the possibility that Russia may consider using nuclear weapons. Today, President Joe Biden is traveling to Belgium for a key NATO summit. Our White House correspondent John Decker has more.
A trip aimed at showing NATO unity. President Biden arriving in Brussels nearly a month into the Russian war against Ukraine. The top item on his agenda, meeting with fellow NATO leaders. Together, they'll discuss ongoing deterrence and defense efforts in response to Russia's unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine. President Biden also set to reaffirm what the White House calls its ironclad commitment to our NATO allies. The president's trip comes less than a week after he announced $800 million in military aid to Ukraine.
This could be a long and difficult battle, but the American people will be steadfast in our support of the people of Ukraine. We are united in our abhorrence of Putin's depraved onslaught.
Last week, Ukrainian President Zelensky addressed a joint session of Congress, calling on the U.S. and NATO to establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Zelensky started his appeal in Ukrainian with an interpreter translating and then switched over to English.
In the darkest time for our country, for the whole Europe, I call on you to do more.
Today, the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we are fighting for the values of Europe and the world.
But President Biden and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg have both said a no-fly zone is not realistic and could lead to a direct conflict between Russia and NATO.
Direct confrontation between NATO and Russia is World War III, something we must strive to prevent.
During his visit, President Biden will also meet with G7 leaders and attend a summit with the European Council. In that meeting, they'll cover economic sanctions on Russia and humanitarian support to victims of the war. The president will then travel to Warsaw, Poland, where he'll hold a bilateral meeting with President Duda. They'll discuss how the U.S. and our European allies are responding to the humanitarian crisis stemming from Russia's invasion. As for the major items Ukraine wants, like fighter jets, those appear to be off the table for now. In Washington, I'm John Decker.
After one of the closest votes this session, a charter schools bill made it out of the State House yesterday afternoon and now moves to the Senate. House Bill 9 passed 51 to 46. More than 20 Republicans joined Democrats with no votes despite passage of prior charter school bills. Well, this measure takes a big step towards making them a reality in Kentucky. Charter schools have been legal in Kentucky since 2017 when the legislature passed the charter school law. But we've never had any because the legislature didn't provide permanent funding for them. This is the first bill that would change that.
Now, this bill can call these two pilots public charters, but at the end of the day, they're still charters. And essentially that means they're private schools.
It's charters.
And using public dollars, federal, state, and local taxes to fund private schools is not something that I could ever vote for.
I'll be the first to tell you there are bad charter schools out there. And I think everybody would agree with me there are bad public schools out there too. That's not an indictment on the whole process one way or another. This is about parents. Parents need choice, and this bill gives choice in our public school system.
Well, even if the Senate passes the bill, the debate is likely not over. Governor Andy Beshear has said he would veto any bill dealing with charter schools. The Kentucky High School Athletic Association is taking a strong stance against the bill. In a lengthy statement posted on Twitter, Commissioner Julian Tackett said charter schools go against, quote, the very basis of interscholastic athletics. Tackett says, as written, the bill allows students to play sports at a different school if it's not offered at the one they attend. He warned that that creates the possibility of a school being formed for a single sport. The House Education Committee has passed a controversial bill that regulates history lessons. Senate Bill 138 would regulate how teachers talk about racism, equality, and economic opportunity. School districts would be required to incorporate 24 specific writings and speeches at age-appropriate levels. Opponents say it amounts to classroom censorship. The bill's sponsor says if it's meant to unify people. 6 representatives voted no. It now moves to the full House for a vote. Well, Kentucky leaders have voted to avoid Russian investments. That vote came from the State Investment Commission. It voted unanimously to avoid direct Russian investments until U.S. sanctions on Russia are lifted. It was a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The commission says it does not have any current Russian investments. Members say the commission works on behalf of the Commonwealth and will not support Russia's aggression. Well, Congressman Hal Rogers presented World War I medals to the family of a soldier from Whitley County who never got the chance to receive his medals. Abraham Smith earned the Silver Star World War I Victory Medal and World War I Bronze Victory Button as part of the American Expeditionary Force named the Polar Bears. Smith earned the Silver Star in 1918 for carrying wounded soldiers. Smith's daughter, son-in-law, grandson, and great-grandson were in attendance to receive the medals in his honor.
The important thing to me is I know how good of a man he was. He deserves to be remembered. And trying to find these records was very difficult. That's why I enlisted the help of Congressman Rogers, and I'm so thankful that he took it on. I really appreciate what he did.
Well, Congressman Rogers says this man is a hero and deserves anything they can do to keep his memory alive. Well, also, Congressman Rogers is now the longest-serving current member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Rogers will be known as the Dean of the House, having to honor of swearing in the Speaker of the House in January. The role also places him on the steering committee, which selects which members are best suited to lead and serve on every committee in the House.
It will be a chance for me to be able to help maybe the Speaker on some difficulty he may face, moderation or trying to solve a problem. So I'll be available to the Speaker.
Well, the Congressman has served Kentucky's 5th Congressional District since 1981 and is running for his 22nd consecutive term this year. Well, yesterday was Diabetes Alert Day, and a day to discuss a disease that affects more than 30 million people in the United States alone. Our Jordan Mullins has more from the Pike County Health Department, where officials are taking the time to focus on the disease as well as diabetes prevention and management.
The 4th Tuesday in March is annually recognized as Diabetes Alert Day, a day to draw attention to a disease that affects millions of people.
We like to say, get rid of type 2 and 22. So there's a big push to create awareness of diabetes.
Around 11% of the U.S. population has diabetes, but those numbers are a bit higher in the Big Sandy region at 14%, and even higher in Pike County.
Pike County has an 18% prevalence of diabetes. That's almost 1 in 5 adults living in Pike County that has been diagnosed as a diabetic.
But diabetes is preventable with a good diet and exercise.
Diet, exercise, and activity, and all those good choices. And you want to look at your lipid levels and things like that of that nature, and do your testing if you have that history or fall in that age group.
As well as knowing your risk factors, getting your A1C tested if you may be at risk, and taking other steps to learn more about the disease.
If you are trying to prevent diabetes or you've received that diagnosis, reach out to your local health department and seek those CDC accredited programs. And if you fall in a risk category or you're over the age of 45, seek a test.
Spreading awareness in hopes to keep more folks healthy. In Pikeville, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Health experts say some risk factors include your family history, if you are overweight, inactive, or older than 45 years of age. Riley also said that men in certain ethnic groups have a higher chance of being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Coming up on 6:11, we are tracking some rain on Live Pinpoint Doppler radar this morning. Pretty heavy in spots, especially down near the Kentucky and Tennessee and Virginia borders this morning. It's slowly moving off to the north and east, but again, areas like Harlan County, Bell County, even parts of southwest Virginia, all the way up through parts of Lee and Owsley County, seeing some pretty good rain this morning. So just be careful out there, especially in the southern half of the state. Yeah, I know that's a little bit disconcerting to see all those sensors out this morning, but that's a lot to take off, so we're just going to leave them on there for now. 62 Prestonsburg, Pikeville this morning, 57 in London, 62 also in Irvine, 55 in Jacksboro on the other side of it. 75 this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms possible throughout the day. It's also going to be breezy. We could see wind gusts of up to 40 miles per hour at times, and we're going to continue to see some of the strong storms possible as we head later into the day. But then a cool snap will come into play later this week. Not so cold, but a cool snap for sure as we head back into the 40s for daytime highs by this weekend. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. When we come back, a destructive storm makes its way across the south, leaving behind paths of devastation.